This edition of the Ridley Report is brought to you by nhliberty.org.
Other side of it.
You're being audio recorded.
You want to shut that off?
I don't want to. I'm not in a position to give legal advice, but I do want to let all of you know a little bit about the way I handle videotaping. By that I mean the way I handle video and audio recording. Police, bureaucrats, people who don't want to be video audio recorded, even though they're in a public place. It's a dicey situation in New Hampshire because we have a wiretapping law here that says you've got to have the consent of all parties in order to record audio.
How are you?
What are you videotaping?
I'm videotaping you and audio recording at this time.
When a police officer walks up to me and I've got my camera, I feel like I have several options. The most dangerous option, and the one I never choose, is to surreptitiously, secretly record the police. Now, I don't know of any cases out on the sidewalks and streets where a person's been arrested for doing this, but some people interpret the wiretapping law as forbidding it. It would be conceivably a misdemeanor to do this. The second option, slightly less dangerous legally, is to have the camera out, inform the police that you're audio recording them, and then see how they respond. Oftentimes they'll tell you to turn off the camera. And again, if I'm using this, option number 2, I will refuse to comply with the order to turn off the camera. But I do that very openly and as respectfully as I can.
I'm asking you to turn the camera off, sir. Are you willing to comply?
I am not willing to turn the camera off. I am willing to back up.
Are you willing to leave, sir?
Yes.
Okay. I'm asking you to leave. Is that good enough?
Hi.
This is only moderately dangerous, and I only know of one instance in which a person has been arrested for doing this. It was Cooper Travis over in Candia, a Free Stater. This happened about a month ago in November '08. The incident appears to have completely blown up in the police faces. Authorities told Cooper they would arrest him if he didn't stop audio taping. They hauled him off in a squad car and never charged him with anything, released him within a couple of hours. The police chief in Candia, New Hampshire, to his credit, ended up apologizing to the family. I've spoken to an attorney about this type of approach, this type of recording, and she informs me that no, they don't really have grounds to arrest you on wiretapping charges when you do this, openly recording them in a public place. But they can arrest you for, disorderly conduct. She could seem to consider it a pretty good hill to die on, and that seemed to be the case for Cooper. However, my read on that statute and other people's read on that statute is a little more conservative and a little more cautious in that it could be interpreted, I think, to mean that you could be arrested even if you openly inform them. Even if you're out on public property, you could be arrested under the wiretapping law. By my read on the law, again, an attorney probably knows more than I do, but just looking at the text, I have to look at option number 2, the open recording, the telling them you're audio recording and refusing to give up. I have to look at that as civil disobedience. And the reason I inform police that I'm doing it is not so much to conform with the law as it is to make sure that I'm deeply in civil disobedience mode. Because civil disobedience is not something you do surreptitiously. You're not hiding what you do it out in the open. So again, my reason for informing the police that I'm recording is, yes, it could put you in better position in terms of the law, but the most important reason is simply to make sure that you are being openly civilly disobedient. Now there's a third option, I'll call it option number 3, which is safer than options 1 or 2. What you can do is you can get out your camera when you see the police coming or when you want to talk to the bureaucrats or whatnot. When they tell you to turn the camera off, you've got that on camera, but you comply with the order. Okay, I am turning off the camera under protest or whatever. Now this way you miss whatever may happen afterwards, But you've got video of them telling you to shut off the camera, telling the whole world they're afraid of the world seeing what they're doing. Roger Grant used this approach at the famous open carry incident outside Murphy's Tap Room in Manchester. The police got some negative reaction because they had told him to turn off the camera. Well, Roger Grant got no negative reaction because he complied. Now, there's also option 4, which is probably the most cop-friendly option of all of these, and that is simply to have your camera ready at your side, in your hand, ready to turn it on if things start to go bad and you start to get desperate. I've used this option once when police came up to my vehicle, and it was probably the right thing to do under the circumstances. There have also been occasions where I whipped the camera out and considered turning it on, but kind of held off because I didn't want to inflame the situation. Well, in the second case, I wished that I had been rolling. So it's dicey, but my advice is if you're rolling the camera, be very upfront and open about it at least. And look at it as a potential act of civil disobedience for which you could go to jail. Now, if you look at the video description for this clip, which will be over there, then you will see a link to some writing that I've done on this subject, which will kind of lay everything out for you in a manner that you can come back to. It makes me very nervous that there are, a lot of people running around there with cameras that don't really understand what they're getting into in terms of the wiretapping law. So I just want to make you aware of the dangers, as many people as possible aware of the dangers. That way you can make an informed decision. This is Dave Ridley signing off from New Hampshire for RidleyReport.com this December 8th, 2008.
New Hampshire's State House, among the least bad governing institutions on earth. But even here, legislators plot theft and destruction. However, they don't do it without opposition.
The New Hampshire Liberty Alliance stands in their path and stands ready to train you in the ways of the Citizen Freedom Lobby.